All right, the Spanish national team have booked their spots into the finals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and it is absolutely an incredible performance they displayed by beating the French team. We all thought that the French team was easily going to be the team to beat, and all the connoisseurs of the game talked about the fact that the French team is really the team to beat if you really want to win the World Cup. I mean, from their day one in the game against Senegal, when they dismantled them, they beat Iraq, dismantled Norway. From the round of 16, beating Sweden, from round of 32 rather, beating Sweden, beating Paraguay in round of 16, dismantling Morocco. We all thought that it was absolutely going to be a difficult game to play against the French team, but it seems the Spanish team make them look so ordinary, very, very ordinary. I remember I asked this question that who is going to stop this French team? Maybe I was naive. I thought that it was absolutely going to be difficult for the French team to be stopped, but the Spanish team has given us different idea. I've said this before that the Spanish team is a defensive side, but they defend with the ball. They defend with having much of the ball. How do they do that? They do that by making sure they have game controlling midfielders. And that's how the Spanish team have been displaying their performance. And for me, I've realized this couple of teams, even some 12 years ago or so, or 14 years ago in 2012, when the European team under former Real Madrid coach Vicente Del Bosque came to European Championship, in Portugal and Ukraine. They came and played Force 9 in the shape of Francesc Fabregas, and they still managed to win the title. And the Spanish team have shown that at times it's not necessarily meaningful to have a striker in your team. You can just decide not to have a striker. Just have players who can withdraw. You can just decide to have a Force 9. Whenever he feels to play the ball, just withdraw, come and add up to the midfield to make more, form a lot of triangles and keep the ball. And that's what the Spanish team have been doing. Coach Luis de la Fuente is seemingly an incredible man. He's yet to lose a knockout game for Spain in the entire history. From the time he started managing the under-20 setup, when he won the European Championship with them, and of course, he came and took over the Spanish team. 2 years ago, they were European champions in Germany when they beat the hell out of everybody from Europe. Now they are in the finals of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Game started quite well. The French team kept on piling the pressure. Starting with their usual setup, goalkeeper Marc Mainan, of course, Jules Koundé, Lucas Digne, Dayot Upamecano, and William Saliba. A double pivot of Aurelien Tchouameni, who was back to replace Manu Kone from the starting lineup in the last game against Morocco alongside Adrien Rabiot. In the front four, Michael Olise on the left, Ousmane Dembele on the right, and of course you're going to see Bakola on the left, Ousmane Dembele on the right, and then Michael Olise playing just behind Kylian Mbappe. And that was how the French team started. And of course, you saw the Spanish team maintaining an unchanged starting lineup with goalkeeper Unai Simon and of course Pedro Porro on the right, Marc Cucurella on the left, and of course Pau Kubasi and Aymeric Laporte forming the centre backs. And we had the double pivot of Fabian Ruiz and then Captain Rodri, with Daniel Mo playing just behind Mikel Oyarzabal. And of course, we had Alex Baena and the Lamine Yamal both on the flanks, one on the left with Baena and of course Lamine Yamal on the right. The French team started making some couple of indications with regards to how they were going to be very quick in terms of their transition, but the Spanish team made sure they blocked the channels, the passing lanes, and that was how they quickly made it to make the French four absolutely useless. The French front four were absolutely useless today because they don't have those midfielders to hold up to the ball. And whenever the ball is coming forward, the Spanish team, you remember at a point in time, Pau Kubasi needed to break the passing channels or the passing lanes that was meant to be a pass to Kylian Mbappe. And that was how they set up the team. So the Spanish team will always make sure they have players who hold up the ball. And that's where Rodri and of course Fabian Ruiz were so important in this game. And then with Lamine Yamal and Alex Baena providing them the width. Daniel Olmo is also one key player who also hold up the ball. The same also applies to Mikel Oyarzabal. So that's how come it happened. Unfortunately, Lucas Digne wasn't aware of the coming of Lamine Yamal. So went in for a ball, he kicked Lamine Yamal in. Penalty came from Mikel Oyarzabal to convert calmly. He maintained his pressure, he maintained his composure. There was no any pressure on his part. I mean, Mikel Oyarzabal, and he made sure he converted from the spot. So at a point, he saw the French team was trying to make some couple of incursions coming into game, but it was quite difficult for them. And they weren't having any antidotes to the play of the Spanish side. And the thing is, like, how do you match up the Spanish team? For you to match, you need to also have technically gifted men in the field. In the second half, you saw coach Didier Deschamps making some couple of changes, dropping Bradley Bacola for Desiree Doué, and of course he made Manu Kone to replace Adrien Rabiot in the second half. But still, it wasn't meant to be. The Spanish team still maintained the possession, and they were still in control of the ball. That's how it happened when they made some quick fit pass, and of course Pedro Porro came from behind to score the second goal, and that was enough to ensure that the French team were down by 2-0, losing against the Spanish side in the semi-final of the World Cup. And that is for the first time in 40 years since the French side lost in the semi-final of the World Cup. The last time they lost in the semi-final of the World Cup was way back in 1986 in Mexico. So the competition is also going on in the northern part of America. So we explain. So in as much as the French team have played some couple of semi-final tournaments that they've lost on 3 occasions. You can talk about 1958 when they lost against Brazil, and of course 1982 in Spain when they lost against Germany, and of course in 86 again when they lost against Germany. Since that time, the French team have never lost a semi-final game in the history of the World Cup after 1986, because in 1998 they won, and in fact even their semi-final have been defenders who have been heroes for them. Lilian Thuram in 1998, and of course, even though there wasn't a defender who scored, but Zinedine Zidane scored from the spot in 2006 when the French team beat Portugal in the semi-final of the World Cup. And of course, we saw it in 2018 when Samuel Umtiti, another defender, was the hero of the day for the French team when they defeated Belgium in the semi-final in Russia. And of course, 4 years ago, it was Theo Hernandez who set up the pace for the French team before Kolo Muani scored the second goal for the French side to have a 2-0 win over Morocco and then make sure to progress to this final of the last World Cup. This time around, they lost against the Spanish side, and it was quite difficult for the French team to match up the pace. Even before the game, the last 10 encounters, the Spanish team have had the better side against the French team. So it was quite another result that the Spanish team have displayed their superiority over the French side. So the French team are out of the finals of the World Cup. They can't make it into the final. And for the first time in the history of Kylian Mbappe, he will not be playing the final. He lost his semi-final for the first time. In the last 2 World Cups that he's played in 2018 and 2022, all of them he's managed to reach the final. But this time around, it wasn't meant to be. The Spanish team march on. They are now in the final. And coach Luis de la Fuente and his men will rest for the game on Sunday at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, where they're going to wait for either England or Argentina, who is going to meet Spain in the final of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. But the fact is, the Spanish team are through into the final. And this is their second final. Their first final was in 2010. They've even never been in semi-final before, till 2010 when Carlos Puyol scored the only goal of that game when they defeated Germany by 1-0. This time around, they've defeated the French team, France, by 2-0, and they've set up their final appearance in the World Cup for the second time ever. They're going to wait for either England or Argentina. This has been the podcast channel with Awal. Thank you.